Hello, everyone. We'll be getting started in just a moment. Stand by and we'll be right with you. We're so excited that you're here. Welcome to the Ready for the Right Guy opening event. I'm Michelle Marchant Johnson, and we're just waiting for our technology to kick in, and we'll be underway. So just stand by for like 10 more seconds here. Hello, everyone. This is Michelle Marchant Johnson. Welcome. I'm so excited that you're here for Ready for the Right Guy and for our opening event. I am joined by my very special guest and my husband, the wonderful Benjamin Johnson.
Hello, ladies.
Welcome, Benjamin.
Thank you very much.
Benjamin is an attorney and a CPA by trade. He keeps the books for my business and does all that fun stuff that I don't want to do. And he's husband extraordinaire, and many of you have seen him on some of my man panel events and other events. And he's going to be joining me, particularly on the Q&A tonight, to offer the male perspective. So I'm really happy to have him and happy to have all of you. For those of you who know my voice, you may detect that I have just a little bit of a cold, but I'm going for sexy and sultry tonight, so I'm hoping you can think of it that way instead of
I think it was a little more huskiness, a little more sexy.
We're really happy to be with you. So before we get started into the main content, we're going to be talking about 5 keys to love with your right guy. And then we're also going to be taking some Q&A. But a couple of announcements and just a couple of housekeeping things really quick for you to help you to get the most out of the event. This event is live tonight, and then starting tomorrow morning and each day throughout the event, you'll get an email each morning letting you know which speakers will be on play that day. And you'll have access to each of the interviews for approximately 48 hours during the event. And so things will move fast once we start tomorrow. I just want to let you know that. So you'll want to watch for those emails and listen in to those that you want to listen to as quickly as you can so that you can take advantage of getting the benefit of the wisdom of many of our speakers. Next, we will be taking Q&A tonight, and if you're online on Zoom, if you're listening via the internet, the best way to submit a question, can be any question on love, dating, relationships, etc., will be to go to the bottom of your screen and click the Q&A box and enter your question there, because that's kind of like in private mode. If you put it in the chat, it's possible at certain times during the webcast that everyone may see it. So we recommend you put your first name and maybe your city or state or country that you're from. And then we can at least call you by first name, but you don't have to reveal any more than you want to. If you want to be anonymous, that's fine too. That having been said, the best chance of getting your question answered, because there are always more than we can answer in any webcast, is to keep your question short and concise, because in the interest of time, we don't have time to kind of read through a little paragraph, a scenario or story. So just want to let you know that. And also, this is kind of fun. We have prizes for questions that are selected to be answered tonight. So that's one of the benefits of being here live. So we're excited about that. And with that, we're going to get underway. But you can start submitting your questions at any time throughout the event. So I'm actually going to do just a little bit of a screen share here and do a little PowerPoint just for a few minutes to keep my little brain focused. I got a little cold drugs in the brain. And again, we just want to officially welcome you. And we're going to go into our main content. We'll spend a little while on that. I want to also share with you just a little update and reminder about the VIP package and the pre-event special that's on right now. And then Benjamin and I will swing right into Q&A with you, and you'll get both the male and the female perspective. So we're excited. We're going to have fun. All right. So as I mentioned already, our topic tonight is 5 keys to love with the right guy. And I'm really excited about this topic because I think it's really important at the beginning of the new year for us to kind of get back to some fundamental things. So I've been doing this for many years, since 2010, and I've been privileged to work with women all around the world. And of course, the reason that most women come to me is that they really want to know where and how to find their Mr. Right. And I completely understand, because I'm a woman who had my own long and winding journey to love. Many of you know my story. I had a lot of speed bumps and potholes along the road to love, became a first-time bride, and married my husband, Benjamin, at age 43. And we have been married now for about 12 and a half years. And Benjamin stood by me through an incredibly difficult breast cancer journey. And he and I have been through some ups and downs that are just kind of the normal course of life together. And I can just tell you, it's a great gift and blessing to have a partner by my side. But I also know the other side of that and what it's like when you're waiting, wondering where or if you're going to find your Mr. Right. So I come to this with a great deal of compassion, and we just want to kind of talk about some things that we believe can really help and make a difference for you. And especially at this beginning of the new year, where there's an opportunity for kind of a fresh start and a whole new perspective. So I know that for many of you, because I talk to many of you and have talked to many women over the years, sometimes it feels like your love life is just kind of stalled, and you don't necessarily quite know what to do about it or what might be going wrong. You might have all of the other aspects of your life seemingly going pretty well. If you're like many of the women that I work with, you have successful careers, you have success in other areas of your life, but for whatever reason, this area seems to be a challenge. And that's how it was for me as well. So I totally get it. And what you'd really like is to be zooming along the road to love toward your Mr. Right. And so we're going to talk about a few fundamental things tonight that I really think can make a difference for you. And I invite you to keep an open mind and to consider that some of these things might be areas to look into a little more deeply than you ever have before. Because some of these things are going to sound kind of basic and fundamental, but what I've found in doing work with women all over the world in the last 8+ years is that there's almost a universal need for some of these things to support you on your journey to love. So this is an opportunity at the beginning of this new year to look at things through new lenses with a fresh perspective. And we're going to be talking about clarity and vision in your love life and the importance of that. And I'm going to talk about 5 key areas of clarity and vision that I think are really important and really essential for you to consider. And I'm going to give you some tangible things to work with and take away from this as much as I possibly can in this webcast. And then I'll also share with you some possibilities on how you might go further if that's something that you choose to do. This is just one fundamental piece of some of the work that I do with my private one-on-one clients and my group clients. But I feel like it's such an important piece that I really wanted to share this with you in hopes that it would bless your lives. So you've probably all heard the kind of cliched saying that says, if you don't know where you're going, how will you know when you get there? Or if you don't know where you're going, you'll probably end up somewhere else. But this is really key when it comes to your love life. It's really important that you have vision. And there's 5 key areas that I think you have to have real deep clarity and vision on in order to move yourself forward and set that foundation for meeting and attracting the right guy. The first piece, and this is really important, is clarity about what you really want in a relationship. Now, when you hear this, many of you are probably saying, well, I know exactly what I want in a relationship. And yet, here's the thing, when I talk to women and I say, some version of this question. If you could have anything you wanted, let's just say within the next 6 months to a year, in terms of a relationship, what would that be? What would that look like? Many women cannot give me a clear, concise definition of what it is that they really deeply desire, want. Sometimes women, I'll ask them, well, do you want marriage? Do you want a committed relationship? Do you want, what do you want specifically? What do you want? They might say, well, you know, I've kind of thought about that. I'm not really sure. Maybe with the right guy. And I understand that on some level, but what I'm saying is I think there's real power in you knowing exactly what it is that would make your heart sing, exactly what it is in terms of a relationship. What would that look like? What would that feel like? What would that be like? What some of your deepest love wants and needs are, and not only what some of your deepest love wants and needs are, but what the reason for that would be is. So in other words, not only what your deepest love wants and needs are, but why it would be so deeply satisfying, or why it would be so deeply fulfilling for you to have that kind of relationship. And then to take it one step further, I think it's really important to be able to own that, speak that, and believe that that's possible for you. So one of the statements that I had that worked for me was, I will meet and marry the man of my dreams. Very simple, very concise, but that was something that I wanted. Now, some people will say it as though it's already happened. Well, my mind doesn't work that way. If I try to say a statement that says, I have met and married the man of my dreams, and I haven't yet met him yet, my mind argues with itself. So you have to do this in whatever way makes sense for you. But I'm just saying that you need to be really clear about what it is you want. You want to go deep inside, and you want to tap into your inner guidance system, your inner wisdom, and get in touch with what would really make your heart sing, what would really be most deeply fulfilling and satisfying to you. Now, I have a whole series of exercises that I take my clients through to go deeply with this, but I'm inviting you at least to ask yourself that question and write down what comes up for you until you come up with nothing else. If I could have anything I wanted in terms of a relationship, let's just say within the next 6 months to a year, what would that be? What would that look like? What would that feel like? And for the purpose of this exercise, I invite you to suspend any disbelief or the inner cynic that might come up, or that voice that might say, you can't have that, and just allow yourself to feel into this. This is as much a feeling exercise, if not more, than a thinking exercise. Did you have anything you wanted to add to that one before I go on?
No, I think I might add a couple of things later, but that's great.
All right. So I want to give you, as we go through this content tonight, a couple of examples from my clients, because in my mind, although my clients say beautiful, nice, sweet things about me, my clients are the stars, and I just get to be privileged to be a part of their journeys. And I just wanted to tell you this little story, just a little example about my client, Amanda, who's now married and actually has a baby boy. She was one of my younger clients, because most of my clients are in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. But Amanda, when we started working together, was 37. And she was dating, but she was dating men that she knew she didn't really want to end up with. And she was kind of losing some of her self-esteem because she was feeling like maybe this was all she could have. She was kind of settling and kind of in a mode where the relationships she was into were not very satisfying, and she was getting kind of discouraged along the way. And Amanda and I worked on a variety of things, but the place we started was really clarifying her vision and going deep about what it was that she really wanted. And she defined that she really wanted a long-term committed relationship leading to marriage. And so this step right there began to set her on a track where we began working together to upgrade her level of how she showed up, who she was dating, and this ultimately led to her meeting and attracting and marrying her wonderful husband, and now being blessed with a baby boy. So I'm just giving you an example of just some of the power of some of what we're talking about here. The second key is clarity about what you really want in a man. Now, okay, I get it, ladies. We've all probably made our lists on paper, or we've made lists in our head, or whatever. We've made those lists. Some of us from the time we were young girls, we've made those kinds of lists. And I think there actually can be some value in that, to think about the kind of man that you would want to be with. But I want to invite you to look at this from a slightly different perspective. And that is from this perspective of, for most women, in order to not only fall in love with the man, but to stay in love with the man, she needs to really respect him. So if you're looking for a long-term relationship or marriage, which most of the women in this audience are, then one of the key things you need to determine is, who would this kind of man be on a heart and character level? Who would this kind of man be that you can actually respect for over the long term? Now, of course, there needs to be attraction, there needs to be love, there needs to be affection, but this is a place to start. And so there's an exercise that I do with my private clients and my group coaching clients, where I have you think of 3 men that you've known at any point in your lifetime. They do not have to be men that you've been romantically involved with, but they need to be men that you admire, respect, trust, and possibly love. So it could be fathers, brothers, brother-in-laws, teachers, religious leaders, if there's someone like that in your sphere that you've known. And I invite you to put these names of these men across the top of a piece of paper and write down all the heart and character qualities, or all the attributes that they have that you admire, respect, and appreciate. Now, for some women, I can say this is pretty hard to even think of 3 men. But if you have to go outside of your closer circle, you can think of even public figures or men like that you feel like you know enough about, that you can identify some of those qualities and characteristics. And in so doing, you identify as many qualities and characteristics as you can, and then you see what kind of themes are showing up, because this can give you an idea of who a man might be that you might actually respect, and some of the key characteristics that you've most appreciated about men that you've known. And it tends to get you to think about this on a deeper level than what you might just come up with writing down things on that list. And so it can be really powerful. Some of my clients have had some really big ahas from doing this. This can also be useful somewhere down the road, as you can think about this when you're creating or crafting profiles. I work with my clients in helping them write and craft profiles that represent them, but also call in this kind of man that they've identified that they might be able to respect and that they might be attracted to. So this can be really a powerful thing for you to use and a place to start. And I did want to just share something personal with you right now. And this might be a little awkward, so bear with me because I have this big chart. When I was single, I took a piece of poster board and I wrote my man, and then I wrote various categories of different heart character qualities or characteristics about the kind of man that I might want to be with. And then I took sticky notes, and ladies, you'll be interested to hear, I still have the original sticky notes that I used. I've got them in all different colors here. And every time I thought about a quality or a characteristic that I might enjoy, appreciate, love, adore having in my man, I would put different color sticky notes under the different categories on this chart that I'd made. Now, these are actually my original sticky notes that I have. They don't have very much stick left on them anymore. They don't stick very well because they're older now. But this was before I even met Benjamin. But what I can tell you was so amazing about this is when I did this, this is kind of my non-visual vision board, if you will. It's not very visual with pictures. What I found amazing about this was before I met Benjamin, but it was almost like as I did this, I kept this under my bed because for a period of time back when I was single, I was living with a roommate and it was kind of personal. I kept it under my bed, and it was even before I met Benjamin, but what it did for me is it helped me to feel the excitement of the possibility that this kind of man might actually exist. And it got me to feel really excited, even though I didn't know who this person might be, even though I had to sometimes fight that thought, well, maybe this man doesn't really exist. The thought that he might possibly exist got me really excited. And that helped me as I moved through kind of the ups and downs of dating, kind of having that vision or that hope that this kind of man might exist. And if I could stick all of these sticky notes on Benjamin now. They're, like I said, they're not very sticky anymore. But what I found after I met and found Benjamin is that almost every single thing that I had put on these sticky notes were attributes and characteristics that Benjamin had. This one says, thinks and tells me I'm beautiful. So do whatever works for you. But what I'm saying is go deep with this stuff. Explore this. See what works for you, what inspires you. Because oftentimes we hear, and I really believe this, if you have a big enough vision of what you want, or a big enough why, like why you want this, then sometimes the how becomes a lot easier. And I really believe that. So that's why I'm sharing this with you as a place to start.
And can I add one
Hey,
thing?
Michelle, this is Kyle. And I just want to let you know that you're still showing your PowerPoint slides.
Yeah.
So if you were able to, I know some people may have had some difficulty, maybe if you were showing visuals of the board that you were referencing. So just a heads up, it might allow people to really see well what you're illustrating, to maybe stop the share for a second to let everyone visualize.
Thank you so much. Thank you
No
so
problem.
much for telling me. See, this is why I have Kyle. Let me show you this chart, ladies. I apologize because I was showing it, but you couldn't see it. So here's my poster board. I'm covering Benjamin and I right now. That's what it looked like. And I apologize. I was doing all of this show and tell and you couldn't see it. These are like my actual real sticky notes. Some of my actual real sticky notes that I used. I've kept these sticky notes all of these years because it was such a miraculous and amazing experience to have this happen, where it was almost like I placed this order through the universe and I could put these sticky notes, like I said, on Benjamin. They don't stick very well anymore because they're old. But he has almost every single attribute that I put on these sticky notes.
Smart.
He likes that one. So again, whatever works for you. And I apologize that I was doing the whole show and tell without giving you a chance to see that with my slides. That's the disadvantage of kind of going back and forth here, but I think you get the idea. And as far as the earlier exercise I mentioned about the 3 men, even if it takes you a little bit of time to think about that, take your time and work with it, because that can be a pretty powerful way to get back to that place of identifying the kind of man that you might respect, appreciate, and might have it might help you identify some of those core heart and character qualities that you might like to have in your man. Okay, I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint now, but I think Benjamin, you had something you were going to say here.
Yes, and going back to that point about, knowing what you want, and from everything that I've observed and read and experienced here, I've noticed that a lot of women get themselves into difficulties. There's a pronounced pattern at the in the earlier part of women's lives, that if you don't have clarity on what you really want, then you're not going to realize that the equation here contains more than just looking at a man and saying, does he have the following characteristics? Really, that's only 1/4 of the equation. I mean, you'll have a man with certain characteristics, and you, of course, will have certain characteristics, but then you'll have the question of, what do I want and what does he want? And then I guess you could say that there's a fifth item, which is the equation of how you connect all of those together. And the pattern I've noticed a lot, as I don't have near the background that Michelle does in reading up and knowing about these dynamics. But what I do know is, in looking what I have seen in my own life and what I've read about, a lot of women find themselves in difficulties because, for example, if we go back into their younger lives, coming out of high school, getting into college, establishing a career, they fall into the trap of looking at the man, looking at the characteristics the man has. And it's easy to say, okay, I have great chemistry, physical chemistry with this man, and he appears to have the kind of characteristics that that society and the popular culture or whatsoever consider as alpha male characteristics. So sometimes the whole formula can boil down to something as simple as do I have great chemistry with him, and does he appear to be an alpha male? And if you take it back to high school or younger, I mean, alpha male can be something as simple as, does he drive the right car or truck or etc. So the pattern that you see repeated is, a lot of women will get to their late 20s, into their 30s or even 40s, and they'll see that they have a path, that they really want a man at this point that has the goal of being in a long-term, caring, committed relationship. And that's why I so much agree with what Michelle said, and I want to emphasize it more, that you have to move beyond just looking at the man and saying, does he appear to have those kind of attractive alpha male characteristics that my own chemistry and society around me tells me I should want? That's not enough. You need to make sure that you're getting, what you want, you're getting what you want, and he's getting what he wants. And that connection has to be made, or you run the risk, and this applies to men as well as women, but you run the risk of endlessly connecting with decent chemistry in the beginning, but drawing apart again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I like the exercise with the 3 men, is it helps you to kind of identify some of the deeper heart and character qualities of the kind of man that you want to be with. It goes beneath the surface of what you might see, because one of the things that we know is that the right person with the right heart and character qualities that might be really wonderful to be in a long-term relationship or marriage with doesn't always come in the exact packaging that you expect. Now, that does not mean that attraction's not important. It doesn't mean that attraction's not important. It just means that over the long run, there are other things that are probably more important. And one of the things I noticed when I did my sticky notes, and I did this kind of non-visual vision board without pictures, is that the things that I was identifying on the sticky notes were more about the heart and character qualities and who this kind of man would be, as opposed to the physical attributes and characteristics or making a certain amount of money or that sort of thing. Although, you know, it's all right to have some of that in there. In fact, it's good to have some of your, it's good to have defined what your absolute need to haves are and what your deal breakers would be. But those should be relatively short lists in comparison to everything else. In other words, there should be a lot more that's negotiable than is not, if that makes sense. Hopefully that made sense. Okay, so moving on here. The third key about clarity is knowing more about who you are. And I mean on a deep core level who you are. I mean knowing what really lights you up, what really brings you joy. This kind of overlaps with the first one that I was talking about. What would really make you feel most deeply satisfied in a relationship? What your core values are, what your core beliefs are, what you really know about you. And I really feel like there's a meditation that I've found to be somewhat helpful here. This is not a guided meditation, it's just a meditation that comes from Deepak Chopra. And this is, again, something that I would like to invite you to experiment with. And this is just a meditation that you can do at any time, that you can have some quiet time. But you just ask yourself 3 questions, and you ask them one at a time. The first question is, who am I? So this question is much deeper than just your name. This is like, who am I? What is the essence of me? Who am I on a core, soul, spirit level? Who am I? That's the first question. The second question is, what do I want? Like, what do I deeply want? What are the deepest desires of my heart? What would make me most fulfilled and happy and joyful in my life? What would bring me the deepest satisfaction? What would be the fullest expression of me? What do you want? What do you want? And then the third one is, what is my purpose? What is my soul purpose? What is my life purpose? What is most important for me to have as part of my life, as part of my legacy, as part of living fully? For me, I did not want to leave this planet without experiencing love, marriage, a relationship with the right man. That was something really important to me. That was something that I really wanted, and I felt like that was part of my life purpose. And I felt a desire to do this kind of work even back when I was single, but I didn't feel like it was authentic for me to do it until I had figured some things out for myself and was in the process of having a committed, successful relationship. But what I would like to invite you to do is, if you would do this meditation over a period of like 10 days, and at least spend 5 to 10 minutes on it per day, and maybe keep a little notebook by your side so that after you're done meditating, you can write some of the key insights that you find, the answers to those 3 questions, which seem fairly simple. You would be amazed at what you might discover about yourself. I know, because I've done this, and it can be really powerful. Because I believe that one of the keys to attracting and calling in the right man is being more of who you are, of showing up as the most visible, amazing, clear, authentic version of you. But if you don't know who you are in terms of some of those things on a very deep level, it can be pretty hard to do that. So I think this is another key to meeting and attracting the right guy. All of these things, I believe, are really foundational. And I wanted to just give you another example of one of my wonderful clients. And again, like I said, my clients, to me, are the heroes here. They're the success stories. But this is a client of mine in London. And one of the things that she and I worked on was her understanding what she really wanted, who she really was, what would really make her happy, what would really make her fulfilled. And in so doing, that helped her to see this man that she otherwise might not have seen and is now married to. And they actually celebrated an anniversary, and she recently sent out this post on Facebook and she tagged me here, that said, Michelle Marchant Johnson, none of this would have been possible without you. Well, like I say, she's the star in this story, but I'm so grateful that I got to be a part of that process for her. I'm so honored and privileged and happy that I got to be a part of her love story.
Oh, and by the way, all of these pictures that you see that involve weddings, none of them are stock pictures. These are all wonderful shots that Michelle's clients have sent back to her.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, these are the real deal. All right. So moving along here, key number 4. This one is so important. It's almost impossible for me to overemphasize it. So I live in Salt Lake City. You can see the mountains from our backyard. And I've often said that if I could stand on the top of a mountain with a big megaphone and speak to the women of the world out there, the thing that I would want to say is, ladies, own your own value. So what do I mean when I say that? This key is clarity about your own intrinsic value and your core values. The reason this is so important is if you don't know your own value, it can be hard for a man to really recognize it and see it. If you don't know your own value, if you don't understand your own intrinsic value and worth, regardless of what is or isn't happening with any given man at any given time, it can be easy for you to settle for less than you deserve. It can be easy for you to be swept up in something that's not right for you. It can be easy for you to make decisions out of loneliness, fear, or lack of belief that there is someone right for you out there. And basically you can go off in a variety of different paths that are not leading you to what it is that you really want. And we are here to take a stand for you to have the real deal, to have real love, to have exactly what it is that you want. But a big piece of that is you knowing your own value. Part of this is loving yourself. Part of this is respecting yourself. Part of this is being true to your own values. Part of this is being clear about boundaries and standards about what is right for you, and making your decisions from that place of confidence, of knowing who you are and knowing that you have value, whether or not a certain man is paying attention to you, whether or not you're currently dating or not, knowing that you have a beautiful gift to bring to the world, and that the right man will recognize that if you first value it and respect it within yourself. So this one is it's almost so important that I don't even know quite how to express it on a deep enough level. But what I do know is that if a woman doesn't feel worthy, or she doesn't feel like she has enough value, or really know her own intrinsic value on a deep core level, not just like a thought, but on a deep core level, so often women will get into relationships that don't lead them to happiness. And relationships, especially a primary love relationship, can be one of the greatest sources of joy in your lives, but it can also be one of the greatest sources of heartache if you get into the wrong relationship. And I know many of us know that from experience. But that's why this is one of the tenets of my work, is you being that woman of high value. And I have a whole program that I go through what it means to specifically be a woman of high value, which we don't have time for right at this moment. But I think you're getting the essence of what I'm talking about here. Did you have anything you want to add here?
No, I think you're doing great.
All right. So this is my client, Sylvia. And one of the things that I really love about Sylvia is when she came to me, you know, she had lost her way a little bit in terms of knowing her own value, in terms of really knowing her own worth and having confidence and faith and belief in the right man being out there for her. And through our work together, she was able to gain that and get her footing and get that vision and get that clarity that we're talking about, which set her on a whole new track than what she'd been on. And again, like I say, my clients are my heroes. I'm just fortunate enough to be a part of their journey and feel so blessed to work with such amazing women around the world. But I'm just giving you examples, tangible examples of why these things are so important and what difference it makes in a woman's life. Clarity is just one piece. Clarity and vision is just one piece of the work that I do, but I believe it's a foundational piece. And of course, we work on all of the things like dating and being visible and attracting more high quality men and getting out there online and offline and creating opportunities for yourself and that sort of thing. But what I find is if some of these fundamentals aren't in place, sometimes they can sabotage us. So that's why I'm talking about this tonight, to set this foundation. Okay. Why is my slide not moving? There we go. Key number 5 is clarity about your course and level of commitment. So this one, I just want to say, I really do believe that for many women, if it's been a while that you've been struggling in your love life, you do need to have some kind of course and you do need to have some kind of plan. When I say course, I'm not talking about a study course. I'm talking about a roadmap. I'm talking about a plan. And I do believe that it makes a big difference to have the right mentor, to have the right support. I had to get that for myself in order to discover and work through some of the ways that I shot myself in the foot and sabotaged my chances for love before I met and attracted Benjamin. And I just believe that a lot of the things that we work on together are kind of nuanced, but they can make a huge difference in your overall success and your overall outcome. So you've taken a step. You're here. You're on this Ready for the Right Guy panel. You'll hear interviews from various experts over the next 10 days or so. And you'll hear a lot of different perspectives. And some of the things that you hear may be really valuable and you may really resonate with. And some of the other things that you hear you may not resonate with as much. That's just fine. Take those gems that you find that are valuable. Take those bits and pieces that you feel can make a difference for you. And don't just listen, but begin to implement, begin to experiment, begin to try some new things. We're at the beginning of a brand new year. You have an opportunity to try and experiment with some brand new things. And also, for many of you, you may feel like this is the time in this new year for you to seek out the support and help of a mentor. Now, I myself, I work with women all over the world. And of course, I can only work with a very small number at any given time because I go really deep in my private coaching with my clients. And I do have some group programs and we'll be offering some future group programs. But if you're seeking a mentor right now, seek for someone that resonates with you, that speaks to you, that you feel can really support you in a way that will be meaningful and significant. Because what I can tell you is that it's worth it. I've been on both sides of this. I've been single for a long period of time in my life. I've been in partnership. Now, we're not here to tell you that life is perfect when you have partnership. Benjamin and I have had our ups and downs. The breast cancer journey being one of them. That was very challenging. Life has its challenges, whether you're alone or whether you're with someone. But I can tell you, it sure makes a difference to have someone there by your side when you're going through some of these challenges and ups and downs of life. And with the right partner, you can have deep, satisfying love, and you can have meaning in your life and opportunities in your life that are so beautiful and so wonderful that it's totally worth it. I'm just here to tell you it's worth it. Now, as far as level of commitment goes, some of you might be thinking, well, doesn't love just kind of happen? And we hear these things like love happens when you least expect it, or you'll call in or draw in love. Well, I do believe that if you're doing some of the things that we've been talking about tonight, like knowing who you really are and showing up more fully and authentically you, that's likely to draw people to you. And from that standpoint, you might say that you're that you're drawing love to you without having a plan. But what I've found is even people that believe that they met in more of a serendipitous or by chance kind of way, they were still in situations where they were putting themselves into opportunities where they could meet and attract someone. And I really believe that having support and guidance and just someone to help you map out your specific plan and your specific roadmap to help you through the different adventures of dating, and to help you to sidestep some of the traps or some of the things that might take you off track, can make a huge difference. So that's what I'm talking about when I say level of commitment. I'm talking about your commitment to yourself, your commitment to know what it is that you want, coming back to the number one, knowing what it is that you really most want. That's your commitment to yourself, of doing the things that you can do to bring this into your life. Because I do believe that we have more power in this area than we sometimes believe. It's not all just by chance. There are actually things that you can do to create more opportunity for yourself in this area of your life. So if you're feeling stuck, I'm just inviting you not to stay stuck and to reach out to whatever person, mentor, opportunity that you feel might be the best for you. So just giving you another example from my clients. This is my client, Susan. And Susan was in her 60s. She had been divorced for a number of years and really kind of was doubting or wondering whether or not love was still possible for her. And Susan just really needed a roadmap. She just really needed a guide. She just really needed some support to know how to navigate dating. So Susan and I worked together to get her profile together, and I helped her to support her to know how to use the online dating sites in a way that supported her, still allowed her to be in the feminine, but also helped to draw in more high quality men. She started also working with me. We had a plan for her to meet men offline. She started dating, she started meeting people, and she met her wonderful husband, Curtis. They're now married and built a house together, got married in their 60s, and she would have never believed that this was possible when we first started working together. But she just needed some support and a roadmap. So she's, again, another one of my heroes. I'm just so blessed to be a part of these women's journeys. So again, just to kind of recap, if you don't know where you're going, how will you know when you get there? This is the reason that we focused on this clarity and vision piece tonight, and why I believe these 5 keys are really fundamental and really sort of a foundational piece of meeting and attracting the right man. Because if these things aren't in place, even if you're doing all the other things in terms of dating or getting opportunities to meet men or that sort of thing, if these things aren't in place, sometimes you're still going to get off the track, or you may not even recognize that man when you meet him. So don't expect your man to magically appear. Yes, there are things you can do, and that's the good news. Don't prolong being with the right guy for you, because as I said before, it's totally worth it. Start now. And our message for you tonight is your time is right now. So in just a moment, we're going to take some Q&A questions. And so again, if you have Q&A questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A box. And for a moment, though, I just want to remind you, one of the ways you can start right now is by upgrading to the Ready for the Right Guy VIP package. And I just want to share a little bit about that right now. And Kyle, if you'll also put the link in the chat box for us. So many of you have already upgraded to the Ready for the Right Guy VIP package, but because it is currently on a pre-event special, only until midnight tonight Pacific time, I just wanted to just briefly review that with you before we go into the Q&A, because this is one way you can start to go deeper right now. along with your participation on the event itself. So I'm just going to swing over here to the VIP package page. Let's see if I can get this to work. Yep, here we go. Many of you have seen this. This is the VIP package page. I'm not going to play the video right now, but right now this special is on for $67, and the VIP package will give you all of the audio and video recordings of the entire event, including tonight's conversation as well as our closing live event, and all of the expert interviews. Plus, we have bonuses, and the bonuses are valued at over $1,000. So many of you know that I've done these man panels where I've interviewed all male experts. Over the last 3 years, I've interviewed over 100 male experts, but I've chosen top 12 interviews of listener favorites, and I'm including some of those man panel expert interviews as one of the bonuses. I'm also including a live virtual workshop, which will take place in February and will be recorded if you can't attend live. But this one is all about you being the one woman and attracting the right man. And this is content that I love to teach, and some of my clients have shared with me that this is some of the favorite content that I teach. So we'll be doing a live virtual workshop that you'll get to participate in as part of the VIP package. Then my husband and I also did an audio training, and there's an infographic on how to bring out the best in a man so that he will step up to be the kind of man that you want him to be and to bring out the very best in him, so you create that win-win scenario. That's one of the bonuses. And then for those of you that would like to also go deeper and explore the possibility of speaking with me, I do offer a one-on-one private coaching session. Now, it says first 37 only. We've already blown way past that, but I've added some additional spaces in my calendar to accommodate more of you, because I love talking to you, and I love to speak with you about kind of where you've been, where you're at, where you'd like to be in terms of your love life. We explore kind of what might be slowing you down, standing in the way, or stopping you, and talk about what the path forward might look like. And I love speaking with you. I love having this opportunity to connect with you on that deep one-on-one level. So this is an hour-long session with me, and we have an opportunity to speak about your personal circumstances and situation on a deeper level. So I love that. And then plus we have a surprise bonus gift. And this is actually really cool. It's a surprise, so I don't tell you what it is, except I will say that it's a course. I won't totally give it away, but it's a course that I recorded and taught live, but you'll get the recordings of the course where I do go in to more of some of the tactical things in terms of what you can do to create more opportunities for yourself to meet and attract a high quality man, both online and offline. So we do go into the tactical piece there. So that's there to give you that additional support. So that's what's included in the VIP package. It's a fantastic value, and it's available on the VIP early bird special right now, because officially we start the interviews tomorrow morning. So we're calling it pre-event special, and as of tomorrow morning, the price will go up slightly. It's still a great value either way, but if you're thinking about getting it, now's a great time. So with that, I invite you to take a look at that. And Kyle, did you put the VIP package link in the chat box? It's just readyfortherightguy.com/VIP. Did you put it in the chat box, Kyle?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes,
right.
I did put it in the chat, and I just put it in there again. So it is in there. And like Michelle said, it's just readyfortherightguy.com/VIP.
All right. So yeah, so I'd love to connect with more of you, and I'm really grateful for all of you that have already upgraded. It's super fun, and we're grateful to have you here either way on the event. So it looks like we have a lot of questions coming in, so bear with us for just a minute, because we need to kind of sort through some of these questions here and get ourselves queued up. So just bear with us for just a little bit. Okay, it looks like we have some awesome questions here. Okay, so first of all, I want to share with you that when we answer your question, if you've put your first name in here, we will mention your first name. If you have not put your first name in here, obviously we'll leave it anonymous. But for those of you whose questions we take tonight, we are going to be giving you a special gift incentive for participating, because we love to have you here and we love to interact. So I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this, but I have this Ready for the Right Guy card deck, which I sell on Amazon. I had this artwork created specifically for me, and I own the rights to this artwork. And each of these cards has a beautiful image on it, and then on the back, it has a question for you to ponder upon. And like this one says, are you willing to articulate, honor, and follow your heart's deepest desires? So for those of you whom we choose your questions for, I'm going to say your first name if you say it. If you're anonymous, you'll have to email me and let me know your name and address. Actually, for all of you, you'll have to email me and let me know your name and address. And I will actually mail this to you in this cute little bag in the mail, no matter where you are in the world, just for participating and for being with us tonight. So that's going to be super fun. Okay, so let's dive right in. And like I said, if we choose your question, make sure you send an email to me, Michelle@lovelifecoaching.com, and so I can send you your gift. Okay, let's see. Here we have, okay, Karishma. Karishma says, what do you think if a man proposes on the first date? Some would call that a red flag, but others would say men are virtual, so they know in 1 or 2 dates if you are his woman. Well, okay, first of all, I believe in attraction at first sight. I don't believe in love at first sight, because I believe that it takes time to really get to know someone. And when it comes to marriage, I mean, most of the women here are looking for a long-term committed relationship, and in many cases, marriage. You want to know, like we talked about earlier, you want to know who this man really is that you're tying your entire future to. I mean, one thing that I can tell you after being single well into my 40s and now being married into my mid-50s is that you combine lives. When you get married, ideally you combine lives, and to some extent you put your fate in the hands of this person. Not totally, but if you combine finances and if you combine all different kinds of aspects of your lives, you're putting a lot of trust and faith in that person. And so even if a man might get overly enthusiastic and propose on the first date, you could have a little fun with that. He might be kind of doing it in a teasing way, or he might feel a deep physical attraction to a woman. But I wouldn't in any way say that he already knows enough about you to know that you're his woman. You want to add to that?
Yeah,
Benjamin?
okay, here's a great news flash that you may not have needed. Men don't have access to any kind of a special type of clairvoyance or ability to know that a certain woman is going to be just right for him on the first or second date. Men have no more access to knowledge or insight about how the relationship is going to progress and how well those two lives are going to mesh together. They have no more access to that than women do. So adding on to what Michelle said, you can have a profound sense of chemistry and connection in those initial first meetings. But those of you who've listened to Michelle and I in some of the earlier presentations we've done, you've heard me say that chemistry is great and chemistry is necessary, but chemistry has no conscience. Chemistry has no character. Chemistry simply functions biologically to bring people together in a very pleasing, fierce kind of attraction. But you can have great chemistry with a doctor, with a wonderful doctor, a school teacher, a lawyer, a guy who turns out to be running a huge Ponzi scheme, a hitman, or an international jewel thief. You can have great chemistry with any of them. At least the jewel thief, you might get some good bling out of it. But to answer your question, a man may claim that on the first or second date that a woman is everything he's wanted, but he's simply speaking in terms of assuming he's speaking in good faith, assuming he's going from his real and true feelings. What he's saying is that I'm feeling a profound initial chemistry with you. Okay, great. But now comes everything Michelle has talked about in terms of what you want, what he wants, and what you're like and what he is like. All that remains to be explored.
Right. Thank you, Benjamin. Wendy in Phoenix says hello. Hello, Wendy. So happy to have you here. Wendy is one of my private clients. I'm so happy to have her here. And Karishma, make sure you email me your full address. I see you're in Australia, so that I can send you your cards. Okay, let's see. Let's take another one. We're going to try to
ship them down under as well.
Yeah, we're going to ship them. Okay, let's see. This is anonymous. So anonymous, again, you'll have to email me your name and address so I can mail you the cards if you'd like them. How to take a guy from casual dating to serious dating long-term for marriage.
One of the biggies.
It's one of the biggies, and I actually think there's a lot of misconception out there. So forgive me, I'm going to get on my soapbox just for a minute or two here. I have a little bit of a problem with some of the messaging of some of the coaches or some of the articles or things that I see out there along these lines, where I see, how do you make a guy commit? Or how do you make a guy choose you? Or how do you make a guy do this or that? I don't believe that, first of all, it's healthy to want to make someone else do anything. And I also don't believe ultimately that's the kind of relationship you want. As a woman, I believe most women want to know the man they're with has really chosen them for who they are. Now, I realize that's not your exact question, but I'm coming there. I just am saying, I think some of the messaging that's out there sounds and may even be a little bit manipulative. And I think we have to be careful about this. And this comes back to something I was saying earlier too, when I was going through the 5 keys. This is part of why you need to know what your own values are and you need to know your own intrinsic value. And if you've been dating a guy casually for a period of time and he's not stepping up in terms of moving it to anything more serious. Casual dating can be defined in a variety of ways by different people. But if he's not moving it, if it's not moving in a direction where you feel like it's moving to something more serious or more long-term leading to marriage, then the person you have to decide or take to another place may be yourself, meaning that you don't have say over what someone else does, but you do have say over what you do. So if you're finding that you've been casually dating and it's not moving in a direction, you may want to decide to explore dating other people. You may want to explore other things if you don't have the sense that this person is heading in the same direction that you are. And it may require a conversation that goes something like, you know, what I'm realizing about myself is that what I really deeply desire is that I want to be in a relationship that moves towards a commitment and towards marriage. And at this point, I'm just not having the sense that that's what's happening in this relationship, which is fine. You have the right to choose whatever you feel is right for you. But I feel like I might want to explore, or I might want to explore the opportunity to date other people because I really want that to be a part of my life. You can have that conversation if it's someone you feel you owe that kind of conversation to. I want to be distinct here. This is not an ultimatum though, because I don't believe that ultimatums work. This is about you saying what is right for you. This is about you being true to your values. This is you saying, this is what I feel like I need to do. This is not telling or asking someone to do something, because they are the ones that have to choose for themselves. So you have to be really careful about how you say these things, but it comes back to you being true to knowing your own value, knowing what you really want, and being true to your vision, being true to what your vision is for yourself and your life, and knowing those things that would make you most satisfied and happy. I hope that helps a little bit without knowing more of the details or circumstances of your situation. Do you have anything to add there?
Well, just that unfortunately there's only one person that you have any realistic control over there, and that's yourself. I mean, people are going to access relationships and get into them with all sorts of different needs. And if a certain level of commitment in a relationship is giving a person, say it's giving the man in the relationship what he needs in life, and it's not really part of his current mindset or desire set to want more, then it's as Michelle said, it's time to say, okay, we've got a mismatch here. Doesn't mean he's a bad person for not wanting to take the next step, but it does mean that if you're true to that vision within you of needing to go to that next step, then there's some conversations that need to be had.
And decisions perhaps for you to make. What I find often is if you have to ask the question, like if you feel like you want to ask the question about where a man is at, more often than not, you already have the answer. And that's why it worries me. Ultimatums, I don't believe, are effective. I don't believe they work for the very most part. And also, again, I worry about this messaging about taking a man or making a man or moving a man into commitment. I worry about that language because you are the prize as a woman. You want the man, you want to know for the rest of your life with this man that he chose you, he chose to be with you. And I really worry about the languaging there, and that there may be some forms of manipulation that are being taught out there. So I think we have to be really careful. And that's just something I feel really strongly about, as you can probably tell. Okay, and Anonymous, if you want me to send you the cards, please send me an email, michelle@lovelifecoaching.com. Okay, Sandy says, online dating sucks. Boy, if I had $1 for every time I've heard that.
We can go into a lovely retirement right now.
Yes, we could. How do you find love there? If not, where in person in this age of technology? Well, Sandy, like I mentioned, in the VIP package, the bonus course, I do go into this in some depth, how to really get better results and how to honor yourself as a woman and enjoy the online experience much more. However, I'll try to give you a couple of quick tips here. And also, I also go into some ideas on how you can create opportunities to meet men offline, in person. But in the interest of time, I'll try to just give you a couple of things to think about that might be valuable. for those of you out there. I get it. Online dating, ooh, my goodness, you know, you see everything out there. And I say this with a lot of love. I say this to my private clients. Going online is kind of like going to the flea market or the swap meet, whatever you might happen to call it in your part of the country. So as you know, you're walking up and down all the aisles and seeing all the different merchandise there, most of which you don't want to pay your hard-earned money for and take home. That's sort of what it's like being online. There's everything and anything out there. Men that are totally age inappropriate, men that if you were the only two people left on the planet on a private island, nothing would happen with, men that are completely unsuitable, men that send disgusting or even pornographic kind of message.
Men who think that the idea of an online dating profile is to see who can use innuendo in the most clever way.
Right. So with my private clients, I actually go online with them and I help them and support them through the online dating process. So believe me when I tell you, I know exactly what's happening and what's going on there. I do think that there are ways to use online dating in ways that are more honoring to the feminine spirit and that are more effective. And this is actually a good time of year if you're thinking about going online or giving it another go to experiment with that, because it's a time of year, it's kind of the gym effect. It's the time of year where more people than ever are coming online in January and February. Most of the sites and apps have specials and a lot of new people join. So from that standpoint, it can be a good time. I have to tell you, and I'll tell you a couple of quick tips in just a second, but one more thing I want to say here. I'm not a huge fan of a lot of the apps out there because I feel like it, even more than the dating sites, and the dating sites do it to some extent, I feel like it really commoditizes people, you know, the swipe right, the swipe left kind of thing. It's just solely based on a picture pretty much. And we're making these decisions about human beings just like that. And so I feel like it's sort of degrading. So I'm a little bit more of a fan of more of the traditional online dating sites rather than the apps. I know the apps are extremely popular, but this is just me and what I've found to be most effective for my clients. And so if you're using a more traditional online dating site, what I recommend is that you become the chooser, meaning that you choose the men that you're going to interact with. So I recommend that you actually go out online, do some searching, find men that you feel like would at least be interesting enough to potentially meet up for a cup of coffee. They don't have to necessarily appear to be your dream man, because you can't tell everything about someone with pixels on a page. You just can't. But at least someone that would be interesting enough that you would be willing to potentially have a cup of coffee with. And then you find something in their profile, and I know some of their profiles don't have much in them either. There's so many men that need help with their profiles. Unfortunately, I can't help the men, I'm busy helping women. But you find something in their profile or their pictures or in something that they've got there that you admire, that you appreciate, that you have in common, or that makes you laugh. And you send a short little message, like I'm talking not more than 1 or 2 sentences. And typically you would end your message with a question. So it might be something like, wow, that's an amazing picture of you at Machu Picchu. When were you there? Do you plan to go back again? I mean, all you're doing is doing the online version of smiling and making eye contact from across the room. You're not asking them out. You're literally just doing like the online version of smiling, making eye contact from across the room. Now, the average response that women get is 1 or 2 out of 10 messages. So with my clients, I recommend they send at least 5 messages per week of this nature, because then I believe they have the potential of possibly hearing from 1 or 2 of them over a period of a couple of weeks, maybe continuing a conversation with one or two of them over a period of a month, and maybe meeting one person a month for perhaps coffee or some kind of casual date. But if you do that over a consistent period of time and you become more of the chooser, possibly even ignoring the messages that you're getting from all the unsuitables, this is one piece that can help you. Again, I go into much more detail on this and give much more specific examples and kind of the nuances in the course that it's included in the VIP package, but I hope that helps a little bit. In terms of offline, and again, I'm going to touch on this just a tiny bit in the interest of time, because I know where and how to meet a guy is one of the biggest questions that so many women have out there. Is that I want to give you a little assignment here to experiment with that can help no matter where you are, no matter what city, state, country you might be in. I want you to do an online search and pretend that you are moving to your city, your area for the first time, or pretend that you're coming as a tourist that's planning to stay for a period of time. And look at all different kinds of opportunities, things that are going on in your community. I want you to look for cultural events, things like, might be a Greek festival or Italian festival. I want you to look for business events, business networking events. If you're interested in attracting more of a businessman type, it could be entrepreneurial events, or it could be seminars of different kinds. Here, could be car shows. Those tend to attract men. Here they have like kind of a male sportsman show. If you're into that kind of a man, you could go to those kind of things. Charity type events. I had one of my clients who met a man. She went on a Saturday by herself to a Greek festival in her community, and she stood in line for some food next to this man. And they struck up a conversation, ended up sitting down eating lunch together, ended up started dating, and ultimately ended up getting married. And that was just from her going to something that she had kind of researched online, and based on our plan that we'd put together to create more opportunities for her, both online and offline. She met this person just randomly standing in line at the Greek festival. And this comes back to what I was saying earlier about sometimes it might seem like serendipity, but actually in most cases I find that women that actually meet men in real life, they were actually doing something or going somewhere where they could actually have that opportunity, right? So do this research, and what I want to invite you to do is to look for at least 2 or 3 events per month that would be outside of your normal routine, outside of where you might normally go. And the ideal cross-section would be something that you enjoy, but also might attract men as well. That's the ideal cross-section of what you're looking for. So for example, the local knitting circle, or the local, I don't know, whatever it might be, jewelry making class. I'm into jewelry making. May not attract a lot of men. So you're looking for that ideal cross section. I hope that helps a little bit. I go into much more depth and the nuances and details of this in the course that's part of the VIP package. And I work with this specifically with my private clients to create like a customized plan that works specifically for them. Thank you for your questions, Sandy, and thanks for everyone for being here. So be sure to send me your name and email address, Sandy. Not your name and email address, your physical address, so I can send you your cards. Okay, let's see if we can get through a couple more here. Let's see. Oh, this is a good question. Elisa, how do you trust your instincts when you like a guy? Woo, this is a tricky one, right? So first of all, let me start by saying this. I believe as women, we have a gift. I think it's a divine gift, and that is our inner guide. You can call it instincts, you can call it woman's intuition, You can call it your inner guide. You can call it whatever you like. I believe it's a gift that we have. And I believe that that inner guide, if we're really in tune with it and we haven't suppressed it, ignored it, or tried to outsmart it too many times, is usually right on. And so trusting your instincts becomes tricky sometimes when there's chemistry and you're feeling a lot of physical attraction, or if a man is just really charismatic or sweeping you off your feet, that kind of thing, it can become tricky. I mean, I always say you have to balance your head, your heart, and your hormones. And the one that tends to override the head is the hormones, if there's a lot of chemistry going on. But for most women, it's not that your inner guide is off. For most women, your inner guide is on. For most women, it's just trusting it, believing it, listening to it, and not trying to outsmart it. And when you feel something is a little off, or you feel something might be a little wrong, or you have just that uneasy feeling, even if you can't identify why it might be there, it's usually there for a reason. And I'm not talking about irrational fears. I'm talking about your instincts, your inner guide. And what I've found with many women is sometimes when I'll talk to women, they'll tell me stories about one or more relationships that have gone wrong. And I'll ask them this question. I'll say, now looking back on it, and I know hindsight is 20/20, were there any warning signs, or did you feel that unease, or did you feel like something was a little off in the early stages? Were there any signs that might have predicted we might have found ourselves here? And in almost every case, they'll say yes. And usually a part of that is them kind of overriding the gut feeling, that instinct, that feminine intuition, that inner guide, whatever you might want to call it. So it's important, I believe, to listen and to be in tune with that inner guide, and then to allow yourself the time and space to catch your breath if you're getting caught up in a romance or getting caught up in a relationship with a guy, to really tune in to how you're really feeling about things. And I put out a video not too long ago, and I said, there's two key questions. You want to ask yourself, how do you feel when you're with him? And how do you feel when you're not with him? Because if you're feeling uncomfortable or uneasy when you're not with him, that can be a sign too that something may be a little off. Do you want to add anything here?
No, I think that's I think that about covers it. I just to say, this is why it's so very important to know your own desires and your own value. And if you start to feel that that sense that something is wrong, don't try to talk yourself out of it. Don't try to, some women will worry that, well, I just need to push this aside because what if there's no one else, or what if I'm not enough to attract anyone else? No. That's the kind of thing where being solidly grounded in your own value and having a clear vision of what you want makes the difference. A lot of women, and I hear it all the time, and Michelle hears it from women, a lot of women say, there are so few really good men out there. Well, I might, not that I have a lot of evidence to argue against that, but I'd like to. But even if we were to take that as true, when those few good men turn to the women of the world and look at them, if we assume if the natural corollary to there are so few good men is that there are a lot more good women, well, when those few men turn to all of those women, this big mob of people, who are they going to notice? Which of those women will have kind of raise themselves up to a head and shoulders above the rest so that they're really visible to the good men, it will be exactly the kind of women that Michelle was describing. Women who know their value and know what they want.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you mentioned that, Benjamin. Thank you. One thing I wanted to add to this too is when you are really centered in knowing your own value, and part of that is trusting your own inner guide, trusting your own inner knowing, because above and beyond what anyone else can tell you out there, you have a gift, and I believe that it's a divine gift. But when you're really in touch with your own value and you're living according to your own values and what is important to you and staying true to that, you show up differently. And what I mean by that is you show up as a woman of high value that attracts those high quality men. You show up in a way where you're not feeling like you need to overgive. You're not feeling like you need to be the pursuer. You're not feeling like you need to compromise your principles or what feels comfortable or right for you just in order to get or keep a guy. You are staying true to who you are. Because here's a secret, the right guy for you is not going to be easily scared off. He's not going to go away. You'll back me up on this, right, Benjamin?
Yeah.
He's not going to go away if he's the right man. And when I say the right man, I mean a man that is in good faith, wanting to have a loving, committed relationship with a woman and who has sincere interest in you. And when you're clear about your own value and values, and you have that clear defining vision of that, you show up differently. And part of the way that you show up is you're true to what feels right to you, which is that part of that inner guide. Okay, let's take one or two more questions and then we better wrap up. And I apologize because we have so many questions here and I would love to take more of them. We're going to take Q&A at our closing ceremony as well. So we'll have another opportunity here. So someone made a comment here, says, how can you get the right answers when you're asking the wrong questions? It's not finding the right man, it's being the right identity and functioning woman. Yeah, that's just what
you've asked and answered. You answered your own question.
And that's what we were just talking about. That's what all of this vision and having that clarity and knowing who you are and being this person is all about.
Here's a key question. What do the different colors of the sticky notes mean?
Oh, the different colors, that's Marcy, and you can email me and I'll send you a card deck. Marcy, the different colors of the sticky notes were based upon the different categories. So as you'll recall, I had different categories here, and I had different colors of sticky notes based on the different categories. Hopefully you can all see that. The categories were mind, heart, soul, body, passions. And passions were like interests, hobbies, things that my man is interested in.
And people can be very, very different and still fit well together. It's like Michelle, it's like she mentioned earlier, I run a lot of the back office stuff for the business, the accounting, the tax work, everything like that, because she got the entrepreneurial spirit and I got the intrapreneurial spirit. So we plugged together and we work well.
Let's see, I'm going to go through a couple of these really quick too. Julia says, is finding your man a numbers game? I actually think not so much, meaning that I don't think the goal here is to try to get as many dates as you possibly can, but I think you want to refine things, get really clear about what it is you're looking for, what's really most important to you, about who you are, put yourself out there authentically and even more boldly, so to speak, and create opportunities for yourself online and offline to meet the right person, but not necessarily going for like maximum number of dates. In other words, I think as women, we operate in energetic cycles, and our bodies operate in cycles, but even when you're no longer menstruating, I still think we operate in energetic cycles. And so I always work with my clients in a way that I believe honors the feminine. And I think that's a part of you honoring yourself and being true to your values, is valuing yourself as a woman. So I don't think it is just a numbers game. I think that's too, I think it's too masculine, too,
In the sense, I mean, yeah, I agree. If you have a vision of just rolling as many dates through the system as possible, that might allow you to look at a variety of different men in the initial stages, in the old speed dating style. You might be looking for certain reactions of chemistry. But I agree with Michelle. I mean, in the sense that if you've had a string of discouraging, if you have a string of relationships or a string of situations that have discouraged you, I mean, I guess you could think of it as a numbers game in terms of being able to pick yourself up and meet someone else and try again. Yes, but I'm with Michelle in that I would as a whole kind of not go there, not go there in terms of that being a kind of metaphor to use.
yeah. Well, we are coming to a close. I want to answer one more question here, because it's important about this little vision board, my non-visual vision board that I made. And I also want to thank everyone for joining us. We'll answer this one last question and then we'll wrap up for tonight. And then I just want to remind you, we'll also be sending out emails each morning over the next like 10 days to let you know which interviews are airing. And we're starting right off with a bang tomorrow, and so be sure to tune in. Also remember, the VIP package on the pre-event special does expire tonight at midnight. So if you're thinking about that, now's a great time to jump in. So Katrina asked me, and I meant to actually address this, so I'm so glad you brought it up, Katrina, and be sure to email me those of you whose questions we took, because I will send you the Ready for the Right Guy card deck in the mail, no matter where you are in the world. Katrina asks, why didn't you use pictures in your vision board? Do you think the sticky notes are more effective than pictures? So I am very familiar with the vision board process, and I've actually made them before with pictures. But what I find, again, this is my mind, and you have to find what works for you. Whatever works for you is what you should do. I'm not saying my way is the right way or that there's anything wrong with vision boards, but my mind does not equate pictures of other people or of other things as something that is necessarily for me. So for me, when I'm looking at pictures that I clip from magazines or that sort of thing, it doesn't seem as real to me. And so I did find, for me, the sticky notes worked. And the other thing that worked about the sticky notes is I could add something anytime I thought about it. I would just keep these sticky notes in my purse. And then when I'd get home, if I were out and about, when I thought of something, I could add the sticky notes underneath the right category. So this was a continuing, ongoing process for me. It was not something I sat down and did one day. It was like when I would observe or notice something that I really admired, appreciated, or respected in a man, something, some quality or characteristic that I thought would be wonderful to have in my husband, I would add it to my sticky notes. And then when I got home, I would pull the board out from under my bed and I would add these sticky notes. So that's probably the biggest piece right there, is just that I could continually build upon it and add upon it. And it was a living, breathing thing for me. And it made me, as I mentioned, really excited about just the mere possibility that a man like that might exist. And it gave me energy and excitement and the stamina to kind of keep going through the ups and downs of dating. So that's why I chose to do it that way. But I'm just encouraging you to do whatever works for you. I just wanted to share this with you because I think it's pretty cool that I still have my original sticky notes, and that it really, for me, was almost like placing an order to the universe. Although it did take a while, even after I started the sticky note process, for Benjamin to show up. So it was a bit of a work in progress. I didn't make the order and he showed up the next day. So ladies, we're so thrilled and honored to have you here. And Benjamin, I want to thank you for joining me.
It's been marvelous. Thanks, ladies.
And we hope you'll join us for more of the event. And we have a really great closing event planned for you. And we'll try to do some other Q&A events in the future too, so we can take more questions. I apologize to those of you, many of you who we didn't get to, but hopefully the questions we answered were of value to many of you as well. Thank you so much, and bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Kyle, you can wrap up on the recording now.